Welcome back to FreightWeekSTL 2026. Thank you to our sponsors for their generous support of this annual event. In this session, we'll learn about We Work the Waterways and its innovative approach to building the future workforce for America's inland waterways. Panelists will explore how the organization is expanding awareness of maritime careers through hands-on events, in-school programs, and accessible resources, strengthening industry partnerships and connecting students and job seekers to real-world opportunities across the river system. Joining me this morning are Errin Howard of We Work the Waterways and Dawn Lopez of Associated Terminals and Turn Services. Our panel also includes Anthony Fleming, a relative newcomer to the waterways industry. Welcome, everyone. We'll kick things off with some self-introductions. Errin, let's start with you.
Hello, I am Errin Howard, and I serve as the Executive Director for We Work the Waterways, which is a national nonprofit focused on helping young people understand the maritime industry and the career opportunities within it. One of the biggest challenges our industry faces isn't opportunities, it's the lack of awareness. And so We Work the Waterways has been created, and our mission is to help these young people, students, educators, families, parents, the career seeker, understand the real career opportunities in our industry. And we do that through hands-on experiences, classroom engagement. We have digital resources on our website, a really great career hub. And we do it by working with the maritime industry to create real-world opportunities for these young people to engage with professionals in our industry.
Dawn, your turn.
Hi, Mary. I'm Dawn Lopez. I'm Vice President of Marketing and Public Relations for Associated Terminals and Turn Services. I've spent most of my career in communications, government relations, and economic development before transitioning into the maritime industry. And I have to say, it's been one of the most rewarding industries that I've ever been involved with. What I love about working in the maritime industry is that it truly connects everything. Our inland waterways, they touch agriculture. They work with construction, exports, imports, and global commerce in ways that many people don't realize. At Associated Terminals and Turn Services, we operate throughout the lower Mississippi River and on the inland waterways, supporting cargo movement, marine logistics, vessel operations, and terminal services. What I love about my industry is that we're able to move the world, but we also are able to offer high-paying and long-term career opportunities for our people. What I love about this is that I'm sitting here right now on a college campus where all of our deckhands are working on being the best deckhand they can be, but not the deckhand, but the captain of the future. And what we are talking about today is that being this person allows them to support a family, continue learning and growing over time. And that's why I'm involved with We Work the Waterways, because I feel like we are really able to offer a career for the future.
Anthony, your turn with a self-introduction.
So to start off with, my name is Anthony Fleming. I went to a trade school in Memphis, Tennessee called Bartlett TCAT. I originally went there for heavy equipment mechanic. So I finished that program. It was around 12, 16-month program. Finished that program. Some type of job fair that me and my school went to a field trip on. And the current employer that I work for, Wepfer Marina, they were there. So they said a lot of different things that caught my attention. It was different in my eye because I personally didn't know that Memphis had something like this. So after the job fair, I told my teacher we could take another field trip to the actual location of the job site. So we came here. I talked to a few employees, talked to a few mechanics, talked to a few higher uppers, and they also were saying a lot of different things I like. So that's my current position here. I'm their diesel mechanic. I do a lot of different things here, a lot of things I didn't know coming in, such as electrical work, piping, plumbing, advanced machinery, different things of that nature.
Errin, 2025 was a pivotal year for We Work the Waterways as your organization officially became a standalone nonprofit. Tell us what led to the decision and how the transition has gone.
Yeah, and to actually answer that question, I think I need to go back to our roots and our beginnings. We Work the Waterways actually got started in the greater St. Louis area with a company called AEP River Operations, who was headquartered in Chesterfield, Missouri, and they concepted the idea of educating the public so that we could get to children and families, places where families were, and through interacting with the children, we could talk to the adults to hopefully get them to make decisions to elect officials who would provide infrastructure support for our waterways. Over the years, We Work the Waterways started going to public festivals and events, and we developed a program for an elementary program for young children that was more formal in the classroom. And in about 2010, we got contacted by the Waterways Association of Pittsburgh to ask if we had anything for high school students. At the time, we didn't. We worked on and developed a curriculum. When we had that piece, we called them back, and we then, in Pittsburgh in 2011, did our first, what we called at the time, Who Works the Rivers career awareness program. And so that's how our organization went from just general awareness about the industry to really getting more specific with the career opportunities involved with it. As we started to grow and expand around the country, the early days of our program was called RiverWorks Discovery, and we were more focused on the inland rivers. But as the need for awareness of our industry grew and people saw that we were doing such a good job of engaging with the public, we created an advisory board in 2023 for the program. And by the end of 2023, the advisory board knew that we needed to do something different. And so that's where our name change came in to the name We Work the Waterways, to encompass the fact that we were going to the Great Lakes or the coastal regions. So we changed the name. And with that name change, we came under the umbrella of another industry organization called Inland Rivers, Ports and Terminals. And we were under that umbrella for about a year. But again, with the national attention that maritime is getting through the Maritime Action Plan and the Ships Act, and the need for what we're doing has just grown so significantly that it very quickly became apparent to our advisory board, even Inland Rivers, Ports and Terminals, that we needed to be a standalone organization. So about a year ago, we announced that we were a standalone nonprofit organization. And since that time, we have even grown and exploded so much more. The growth and the transition over the past year has been incredible. Not only have we grown in the number of programs and reach that we're doing, we have requests to go into the Pacific Northwest and have events on the calendar. We just had a conversation yesterday about going to Texas. We have needs and calls coming from the Northeast. We even got a call from South Dakota. But so we're getting these calls and requests. And with that, we've also grown our team. Today, we're 3 full-time people, 1 part-time, and we've had an intern on board since September. And I think, the big story here is we work with over 250 companies and organizations nationwide, nonprofit organizations who we partner with. And what they all know and realize is that this is bigger than just any one company. We are all working together. It's a big world. We're a small industry, and we're all working together for the future of our industry to keep our country moving.
Many people in the St. Louis region live near the Mississippi River, but may not understand the breadth of careers tied to inland waterways. How is We Work Waterways changing the narrative around maritime and river-based freight careers?
Yeah, so one of the things that we hear, and it's not just even along the Mississippi, but along the Ohio and other major rivers, is that even with people living and working right there along the river, they still don't realize the significance of the river and the career opportunities that it brings. Again, I go back to the idea that it's not about the opportunities, it is about the awareness. One of the things that we've found as we continue our education around the country is that this is also goes to educators. We work with a lot of community colleges and educators at higher levels, and they might be educating students for careers in welding or electrical or machinery. And these educators don't understand that these career opportunities also exist in maritime. Students are naturally exposed to careers in healthcare, technology, but our industry just naturally, it isn't as seen and heard about as other industries. And so we as an industry, we are not really going up against each other for that next workforce. We are actually working against the other industries who are out there beating us to the classroom. And so we have to work together to create that next workforce. What we do is, we do have our elementary program that we're still doing, taking to classrooms. We go to public festivals and events. And our signature events are our maritime interaction days, where we bring companies together in a community to put on a day full of interaction for young people to engage with these professionals in the maritime industry, to learn about the industry through real world hands-on experiences and conversations with these industry professionals.
Recognized as the most efficient inland port in the nation and a global logistics hub, the St. Louis region sits at the center of America's inland waterway system. What can you tell us about the integration of river freight with rail, trucking, and manufacturing supply chains?
Well, we do like to tell the kids about the different modes of transportation and compare the environmental efficiency of those modes. We just celebrated Earth Day, and we do make the point in our presentations when talking with the students about the environmental efficiency of river transportation compared to other modes, and we highlight that. But one of the things that then we go on to say is, even though transportation by our waterways is the single most efficient way to transport goods, we don't have rivers everywhere in this country, and some of the rivers that we do have aren't always navigable. And so the reality is that all of these modes of transportation actually work together and depend on one another. The goal is to move freight as efficiently as possible by our waterways, and it could be a river, lake, ocean, but get it as far as we can, and then work to integrate the other modes to get it to its final destination. And so it's actually an intermodal system that all works together to keep our goods moving, supports manufacturing and agriculture, strengthens our economy, and in turn helps reduce congestion and our roadways and emissions into our air.
Looking ahead another year or two, what would success look like for We Work the Waterways?
Well, I've mentioned throughout that we are continuously getting calls from all over the country, people wanting us to bring We Work the Waterways to their communities, sometimes not even close to a navigable river, such as our call from South Dakota. But we want to continue to expand our staff. Through expanding our staff, we'll be able to increase our programs and then in turn increase our resources. And we need to do that by, I've been working on a strategic plan for the organization. We're working to diversify our funding streams so that we can continue serving more students, educators, and job seekers around the country. Ultimately, we just want to continue building the awareness, not just within our industry, but with the general public, of how critical this industry is to our nation's waterways, to everyday life, and then in turn recognizing the tremendous career opportunities that this industry presents. Most importantly, we want more people involved. That doesn't matter if it's a company sponsoring an event, a professional volunteering their time, or an educator helping us bring this education to their students, or simply even just individuals following and sharing our mission. All of that helps create awareness, which in turn helps strengthen our pipeline. And at the end of the day, just creates the opportunities and the awareness for that next generation to know that this industry has a place in it for them.
Dawn, your company is among the more than 250 industry partners collaborating with We Work the Waterways. Tell us a little bit about how you work with them and share with us who some of those industry partners are.
Of course. So we work with We Work the Waterways because we recognize that while we're two companies that are always looking for the next, great person to join our company, we're not able to find those on our own. It is very interesting for us because through We Work the Waterways, we're able to really become an answer for future career opportunities for youth and also individuals who are transitioning from other careers into our industry. We are lucky at Associated Terminals and Term Services to have so many partners along the way when we're doing our day-to-day work. And it's interesting because often when we think about the opportunities on the waterways, we don't look at everything. And so what we've done with We Work the Waterways is said, look, it's not just about becoming close to barge lines or ports or shipyards. It's about looking at what all the opportunities are available and finding the companies that can support our mission. And so as I mentioned barge lines, we have a lot of the leading barge lines in the industry who are part of our program. And over these 250 companies, it's very interesting. We look at there's law firms involved. There's engineering firms who are on our group of industry partnerships because we know that it takes a village, I guess, to make this all happen every day. And we're able to grow in our numbers of partners because, as we all know, the waterways are just so important to our national economy. And so what's very interesting is that in the past, I would say that our organizations were very, very in tune with companies that worked with the waterways, but that's really grown beyond that now. We're seeing economic development organizations getting involved in our efforts. We are seeing universities being involved here, and our partnerships are also schools. That's really a very nice place to be, where it's an endless number of individuals who are seeing the importance of what we're doing these days.
Don, what is the biggest workforce challenge facing inland waterways today, and what's one thing the freight industry could do right now to help address it?
The biggest challenge I think that we have today is awareness. So many young people, parents, counselors, and educators as well, do not know that the careers that we have available to them. We don't realize that the inland waterways support careers in operations and engineering, logistics, diesel technology, and so many more. Skilled trades are so essential to the U.S. economy, and we just can't think about hiring for today. We have to be think about hiring for the future, for our future captains, our future technicians, our crane operators, etc. One thing that I see happening right now is that we have to understand that language matters. Sometimes we say mechanic, but younger generations respond more to terms like technician or diesel technology specialist. These jobs involve sophisticated technology and diagnostics, and many of these careers are also resilient to the AI driven future because they require hand on expertise and critical thinking that simply cannot be replaced.
Don, as an active member of the freight industry, what do you believe needs to happen now, locally and nationally, to ensure inland waterways remain a competitive and resilient part of the U.S. freight system?
I think what we need to do is really create a better understanding from the public of the importance of the waterways and to really explain to them why our waterways matter. In areas like New Orleans or St. Louis, people are able to see the ports, and so it's active participation amongst our citizenship to see the waterways where they are. However, they don't understand what they can do. One thing that we really need to really focus on is explaining personally, locally, and nationally why this investment in our infrastructure and our workforce development is so important. We keep on seeing advancements in what's happening in our industry, but we need to start being a better announcer, I guess, to everyone about what we're seeing with the growth and the opportunities available.
Don, if everyone viewing this session remembered just one thing or took one action to support the inland waterways workforce, what should it be?
I think I would say everyone needs to get involved locally. That's where we really need to focus on right now. Right now, I'm on a college campus, and when I leave here, I'm going to go walk into a chamber meeting, and I'm going to explain the importance of what we do on our waterways. I'm going to talk about We Work the Waterways and explain that it doesn't matter if you're a plant working on waterways. It doesn't matter if you're someone who is in the trucking business, at the end of the day, the waterways is the most economically friendly ability to get the freight into the country. From there, we can continue to work with all of our supply chain partners to grow our national industry. I've been with Associated Terminals and Term Services for over 14 years. 12 years ago, I got involved with a day at the Port of New Orleans, and it was the first interaction that I had with Erin's organization. What I really liked about this is that I've seen the organization grow from 7 companies being at an event to having so many different interaction stations with students that we're able to show so many different aspects of the industry that we were not able to show beforehand. It's interesting to see students interact with engineering, with HVAC, with welding, and then learn about themselves with interaction with interpersonal skills being such an important part of what we're working on today. My favorite parts of this is to see what we hear from the students at the end of the day. Often what we hear are testaments to what this industry has put into this program. Recently at an event in Baton Rouge, I had a student tell me when I asked him why he thought We Work the Waterways was important. And he said it was because it was the first time that an adult told him that he mattered. And when you hear that, it gives me chills every time I think about that. And it wasn't my company who gave this student that feeling, but it was part of our industry. And that made me feel like we were making a difference. The story is not one alone. I actually was at an event, same event, Baton Rouge this time, and I had this student, this young lady, who gave me the perfect elevator pitch about who she was and what her future was going to be. And I brought over her principal and her educator and said, what class is this person taking that they learned this? And the young individual looked at me and said, I learned this in an 8-minute session here today. And she said it was the first time that she ever felt like she had confidence. So what we're doing is we're showing them about how to throw a line. We're talking to them about the importance of commerce. We're talking to them about where commodities come from and where they go. But what we're also showing them is that we're an industry that cares, and we really want to make sure that we're working on becoming a better person, not just for us, but for them as well.
Anthony, you've had firsthand experience with We Work the Waterways and its various programs to connect students of different ages to career opportunities on the waterways. Tell us what programs you have been involved in and how they have contributed to your career choices.
Like I said initially, it was initially a job fair. So when I really didn't know what I was expecting when I went. There was a lot of different kind of, such as tugboat companies. It was a different welding companies there, and we just went through different categories of each job that was there. And like I said, Wepfer Marina, they had a big type of group channel that they was doing, and me and my class, we went in. It was just a few of us, so we went in. They're talking about a lot of different things, what the boats do, the barge that the boats push, how much different things go into the boat, the type of barge that they push, such as rice, grain, metals, iron, stuff like that, and all different type of connections that the tugboat industry does. They push a lot of more freight than other things such as 18-wheelers or planes and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool to me.
Anthony, talk to us about your current job. What responsibilities do you have, and what type of compensation and benefits are offered now and in the future?
Okay, so my current job, I'm their diesel mechanic. I come in, I do what we call boat check. A boat check consists of checking the oil, checking, make sure there's no leaks, making sure that the boat is basically safe for the deckhands and pilots and tankers to get on and continue the job that they do. I do a lot of different things each day, so I can't come in and be like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this day. I might think I'm doing this, but the whole time I might get on a whole nother boat and do a whole nother thing. I might do an overhead on this boat, or I might get on this boat, do an oil change. So it just varies depending on the week that we're having. This job has fairly good benefits. You can get a dental, health, vision, and you'll be taken care of here.
Anthony, given your experience, how would you say We Work the Waterways programs and initiatives are impacting the lives of participants?
I believe it's very positive because a lot of the things that they have taught me here, I can also take outside this job and do, basic things at the house. I can pick up a lot of stuff myself now because how much things they can show me. And like I said, they taught me electrical, plumbing, HVAC. I learned a little bit of welding here, so I got a lot of eggs in one basket here.
Anthony, where do you think you'll be in 20 years? And what would you say to other young people who may be considering career opportunities but are not yet familiar with the inland waterways?
20 years, I see myself still in this industry. This is, I believe, a very high demand industry. It can take you far in life. You can move up in this industry. You can do a lot of different things in the industry. You don't have to just be in one area. You can be in one area and do a lot more other things based on the knowledge that this job will give you. And newcomers coming in, if you're a very hands-on and a very knowledgeable person, this job is most certainly could be for you.
Thank you, Errin, Dawn, and Anthony, for joining us today. You've given us all great insight into tremendous real-world opportunities across the inland waterways and the collaborative partnerships that are connecting students and job seekers to those opportunities. There truly is no better time than now for individuals to consider a career in this exciting industry. Special thanks to our sponsors. Their support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver the great content that is a hallmark of this annual conference. Presenting sponsors include Errin, the Illinois Railroad Association, and GFT Infrastructure. Supporting sponsors include HNTB, Steadfast City, and the Hauser Group.